Hello and welcome to the first Redbrick News Video Podcast. I'm Freddie Herzog.
I'm Kerrina Gray.
And I'm Hughes.
And today we're going to be discussing the big investigative stories that we've been covering in Redbrick this week. Kerrina, you're going to start with a story on the front page about the business school.
Yeah, firstly, our front page this week was the business course fails to return half of first term coursework on time. I'm just going to explain a little bit about how we managed to get hold of this story. We firstly had an anonymous email sent in from a business student telling us about the problems he'd had with the business department and the return of his coursework. We thought this could be an interesting story, but obviously we had to have some evidence to prove that this was actually happening. So we emailed him back to ask if he could provide evidence for us, which he could. And he supplied us with shots of WebCT which showed us when the coursework was due to be returned, and then emails saying that it was to be returned late, that he had received. So once we had this evidence, we gave it out at one of our meetings to one of our news writers, who contacted someone else who was willing to talk about the problems he'd had with the business school, and he also provided further evidence for us. And then finally he pieced it all together and then sent the article off to the business school to provide a comment, which actually appears at the end of the article, and she explains some of the reasons why the coursework might have been returned late.
One story that we've been investigating for quite a while now is Chamberlain Hall on the Vale, which has been closed for the past 6 years. We kind of seen it was closed, but wanted to investigate more about it and why it was closed and why it was unoccupied. So we had a sort of big brainstorming session and decided to send off some FOIs to the university about future plans for it and why it currently wasn't being used. They got back to us over the Christmas holidays and said that it mainly wasn't used because it breached fire safety regulations. So we then compiled all the FOIs together, gave it out to a news writer, and then it appeared in print this week. It's taken quite a long time to get that because FOIs take 28 days to come to us. But we're pleased it's actually got in now.
Another story we've got this week is about a redevelopment in the Guild, in which a cluster copy has been placed in the old common room, which is currently being used as a dance rehearsal space for the dance societies. As they're going to be losing the space, in the old basement, they're going to be putting a brand new dance studio. And we heard about this from Phyllis, who's the Vice President of Activities and Development, and she told us and showed us some floor plans of how everything's going to be rearranged. We sent a writer to go and talk to us about this, and we realised that several societies are going to be losing their permanent rooms, such as Women's Association and the LGBTQ Association. After interviewing Phyllis about this, it was quite easy to piece together a story, and we contacted some societies which would be mainly affected, such as the Memory Dance Society, but they told us that although they were happy with the new dance rehearsal space, then it would mean that there would be less rooms, large rooms for them to use. They might have to be using lecture rooms, which wouldn't be ideal. Also, those societies which would be losing their permanent rooms, who are liberation groups, such as those that would be losing their safe space, they'll be getting complete priority over all the other bookable rooms, which seems like a good compromise.
We also wanted to mention that originally the business course story wasn't going to be our front page story. We had lined up an investigation into Castle Cars and the fact that they may be overcharging students compared to their agreed price rate. Unfortunately, we weren't actually able to have that as this week's front page story, but we're hoping to have it in next week's edition.
Yeah. As with any story, we have to go through the marketing and legal team, and they look at our stories in terms of if there could be any legal action if we're saying things that are wrong. At this time, it was decided that we didn't have enough hard evidence, such as receipts from taxis, as our story was kind of based on anecdotal evidence.
Based on more opinion than actual hard.
Yeah.
Comments on Facebook.
Yeah, but after next week we should be getting some really good evidence, so we should be our really good investigative piece for the front page.
Online this week, we've had quite a lot of interesting stories. We had an article about Vote Match, which is the new system employed in the Guild officer elections, where essentially users choose a selection of statements that they think are most relevant to them, and then they answer those in relation to the candidates. So they choose the candidates on who they think would be the best appropriate to them. We've also had the second part of our Eurozone Beginners Guide. We're hoping to get a lot more beginners guides to big national and international stories. And also, yesterday afternoon, a campaign called Reclaim the Guild went live, which is aiming to change the democratic structures in the Guild. So we'll hopefully be covering that in the next few weeks as well. Yeah.
As we were sourcing information for this video podcast, we realised that there was some breaking news at the Olympics. That the opening ceremony was going to be called Isles of Wonder, and we thought this was a strange choice for the name.
Yeah. It's the opening ceremony is going to be sort of controlled and run by Danny Boyle, who directed Slumdog Millionaire in 127 Hours.
He's artistic director. Yeah.
So it should be a good show. I'm just not quite sure.
Oh, we're not sure about the name.
Yeah, we thought it sounded a bit Disneyland, and all the millions of people who are going to be watching it, I think it's quite a weak name personally.
Yeah, it's not particularly representative of the country.
I think it sounds quite gimmicky and a bit silly.
And they also announced a few weeks ago that they were going to, the opening ceremony was going to have its budget doubled. There just seems to be a sort of spiralling cost in it. It doesn't seem to be in control at all.
But I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, that is the video podcast for this week. If anyone has any stories or anything interesting that they want to contact with us with, you can always email news@redbrickonline.co.uk. Thank you for watching. Thank you.